The rain showed no sign of mercy. It poured as though the heavens themselves were weeping, drumming against rooftops, pounding into the earth, and soaking the spirit of anyone caught beneath it. Adi's little body trembled with exhaustion, but her spirit, though bruised, refused to break. Her tray of bananas was still almost full. She had been out for hours, yet only a few had been sold. Each rejection echoed in her heart like a hammer against stone. And the cruel voice of her stepmother returned again and again in her mind. Do not come back until every single one is gone. She thought of returning anyway, thought of begging, but she knew what awaited her, a storm of insults, a stinging slap, perhaps even worse. That fear drove her forward, step after painful step, until she found herself on a quieter street at the edge of the marketplace. There, the crowd was thinner. The shouts of traders gave way to the rumble of vehicles splashing through the flooded road. Adi stood at a corner, clutching her tray with both hands. She tried again. Banana, sweet banana, please, good people, buy banana. A man walking past glanced at her, his eyes lingering a little too long. He was not dressed like a trader. His clothes were rough, his gaze unsettling. He stepped closer. How much are your bananas, little one? He asked, his voice low. Adiz hesitated. Something in his eyes unsettled her. She clutched the tray tighter. They are 50 naira each, sir. The man chuckled darkly. 50. But what if I don't want to pay? Before Adiz could reply, two other men appeared from behind him. They laughed among themselves, circling her like vultures. One reached out and grabbed the banana from the tray, biting into it without asking. The others followed, tearing the fruit apart. Stop, please. Adiz cried. You must pay. Please, my stepmother will. But her words were drowned by their mocking laughter. One of them shoved her backward. She stumbled, nearly falling into the mud. The tray tilted, bananas rolling into the dirty water. Her heart pounded. If she lost them, if she returned empty-handed. Her fear gave her strength. She lunged forward, trying to gather the scattered bananas, but one of the men grabbed her wrist. His grip was rough, painful. Stay still, girl, he sneered. Why struggle? You think anyone here will help you? And for a moment, she believed him. People passed by, glancing, then looking away. Some muttered under their breath, unwilling to get involved. To them, she was just another poor child in the rain. Not their problem. Not their business. Tears mixed with raindrops on her cheeks as she whispered, please, let me go. But then, a voice cut through the noise. Strong. Commanding. Leave her. Now. The men turned. Standing just a few steps away was a tall figure, an umbrella in his hand, his eyes sharp and unyielding. He was not dressed like a poor man. His shoes shone despite the rain. His suit was damp but carried an air of dignity. Who are you? One of the men challenged. The stranger stepped closer, his voice steady. A man who will not watch children suffer while cowards prey on them. The men exchanged uneasy glances. Something in his tone carried authority. One by one, they stepped back, muttering curses as they disappeared into the rain. Adiz was left trembling, clutching her bruised wrist. Her bananas lay scattered in the mud. She looked at the stranger with wide eyes, unsure whether to run or to stay. He bent down, gathering the fruits one by one, wiping the mud as best as he could before placing them back on her tray. Then he looked at her, really looked at her. He saw the wet clothes clinging to her thin frame. He saw the hunger etched into her face. He saw the sadness in her eyes, too old for a child. What is your name? He asked gently. Adiz, she whispered. And why are you out here, Adiz, in the rain? She hesitated, but the weight of her burden pressed the truth from her lips. My stepmother, she said I must sell them all. She said, I should not come back until they are gone. The man's jaw tightened. He looked at the tree again, then back at her. Without another word, he reached into his pocket, pulled out his wallet, and handed her a bundle of notes. Enough to buy every single banana, and more. I'll take them all, he said. Addis froze. No one had ever shown her such kindness. Her lips parted, but no words came. She could only stare as he took the tray from her head, shielding her with his umbrella. Come, he said softly. I will walk you home. Together, they walked through the rain, the stranger carrying her tray as though it weighed nothing. Addis' heart pounded, not from fear this time, but from something unfamiliar, hope. Yet that hope dimmed when they reached her home. Her stepmother stood at the doorway, arms folded, eyes filled with suspicion. So, she sneered, you finally return. Did you sell them all, or did you eat them? Before Addis could reply, the man stepped forward, setting down the empty tray. I bought them, he said firmly. Every single one. The woman's eyes widened. You? Yes. And I saw how this child was treated. I saw men try to harm her while she struggled alone in the rain. His voice hardened. Is this how you raise her? With cruelty instead of care. The stepmother shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. Addis stood frozen, watching the exchange, her heart racing. She had never seen anyone speak to her stepmother that way. Never. The man looked at Addis again, his eyes softening. This girl does not belong in the streets. She belongs in school. She is bright, I can see it. And I will not stand by while her life is wasted. The stepmother scoffed, but he continued. From today, I will take responsibility for her education. Addis' eyes widened. She could hardly believe what she had heard. Was it possible? Could a stranger really change her life in a single day? And so it was, in the middle of that rain-soaked afternoon, that Addis' destiny began to shift. The days that followed marked a turning point in Addis' life. For the first time, someone had stood up for her. Someone had looked at her, not as a burden, not as a servant, but as a child worthy of love, care, and a future. That man, whose name was Mr. Okoro, kept his word. Within a week, Addis was enrolled in a nearby school. She had no proper uniform, no polished shoes, only a second-hand dress and a pair of slippers too thin for the gravel road. On her first morning, she stood outside the classroom door, trembling, the other children's laughter ringing in her ears. Some whispered, "Isn't that the banana girl? Look at her slippers. She smells of the market." Her cheeks burned with shame, but she swallowed her tears. She remembered her mother's words, whispered long ago, "Even when the world gives you nothing, you must give it love." So she walked in, shoulders straight, eyes lowered, and sat quietly at the back. The lessons were not easy. She had missed years of schooling, years lost to selling fruits in the rain and sun. At first, the words on the blackboard looked like strange symbols, but Addis refused to surrender. At night, when others slept, she lit a small kerosene lamp and bent over borrowed books, tracing letters with her finger until they made sense. Mr. Okoro often visited, bringing exercise books, pencils, and encouragement. He never treated her as charity. He treated her as a daughter. When she stumbled, he reminded her, "Education is a journey, Addis. One step at a time. Even the tallest tree begins as a seed." Slowly, Addis began to rise. In her first term, she placed near the bottom of the class. Many sneered, saying she would never catch up. But by the second term, she was in the middle. And by the end of the year, she surprised everyone, second place overall. Her stepmother watched all this with mixed feelings. On one hand, she enjoyed boasting to neighbors that Addis was being sponsored. On the other hand, envy burned in her chest each time she saw the girl smiling, each time she heard Mr. Okoro praise her. Yet she said nothing. The years rolled on. Addis grew taller, stronger, her mind sharper. She became known in school as the girl who never gave up. When competitions came, she volunteered. When debates were held, she spoke with courage, her voice steady as the room listened. Teachers admired her resilience. Students, once cruel, began to respect her. But life was not without challenges. Hunger still visited her home often, for her stepmother's heart had not softened. Many nights, Addis studied on an empty stomach. Still, she pressed forward, driven by something greater than hunger, driven by the memory of her mother, by the kindness of Mr. Okoro, by the belief that one day, she would rise above it all. Then came the day everything changed. A scholarship examination was announced, open to the brightest students in the region. The prize was unimaginable, the chance to study abroad, all expenses paid. The competition would be fierce, hundreds of students, each from schools better equipped, families better prepared. But Addis did not let fear stop her. She studied harder than ever, waking before dawn, memorizing formulas, solving problems by the light of a small lamp. The day of the exam arrived. Addis walked into the hall with borrowed shoes, her uniform patched at the seams. Around her, other students whispered, confident and proud. But when the papers were handed out, Addis' hand steadied. She remembered every night of hunger, every tear in the rain, every word of encouragement. And she wrote. She wrote with the fire of someone who had nothing to lose, and everything to gain. Weeks passed. The results were announced. Addis' name was called. Not just among the successful candidates, she was among the very top. The news spread like wildfire. The poor banana girl had won a scholarship to study overseas. The marketplace buzzed with whispers. The same people who once mocked her now pointed with awe. Is that not Addis? The one who used to sell bananas here in the rain. Look at her now. Truly, destiny cannot be stopped. The day she prepared to leave, the entire community gathered. Some cheered, some wept, some simply stared in disbelief. Her father, weak but proud, held her hands with trembling fingers. My daughter, he whispered, tears in his eyes, forgive me for my silence all these years. Go now, and make a life greater than mine. And Mr. Okoro stood beside her, his face shining with pride. Remember, Addis, he said softly, this is only the beginning. Carry your mother's kindness wherever you go. As the plane lifted into the sky, Addis pressed her face to the window, watching the land she had known fade beneath the clouds. She thought of her mother. She thought of the rain. She thought of the bananas that once weighed her down, and how that weight had led her to this moment. Her heart whispered a silent promise, one day, I will return. And when I do, it will not be as the poor child who left, but as someone who brings light where there is darkness. Years passed. Addis, once the barefoot girl selling bananas in the rain, had become a woman of grace, confidence, and education. Studying abroad had transformed her. She carried herself with dignity, her speech refined, her mind sharpened with knowledge. Yet beneath all her achievements, her heart remained humble. She never forgot the soil that raised her, nor the struggles that carved her spirit. One warm afternoon, after many years away, Addis returned to her village. The air smelled of dust and roasted maize, just as it had when she left. Her footsteps on the familiar red earth stirred old memories, memories of tears, of laughter, of nights spent in hunger. The village was abuzz. Word had spread quickly. The banana girl has come home. They say she is now a great woman, a scholar, maybe even rich. She has returned in cars, with people following her. Indeed, a black car pulled into the narrow road, drawing eyes from every corner. Children ran alongside, shouting her name. Elders stood in wonder, some bowing their heads, others clapping slowly as she stepped out. Addis wore a simple dress, elegant yet modest. No jewelry flaunted her success, only her presence spoke of transformation. Her father, now friendlier than before, sat on a wooden stool, tears flowing freely as he embraced her. "My daughter," he sobbed, "you have returned to me. I thought I would never see this day." But the reunion was not without shadows. Standing at a distance, wringing her hands nervously, was the stepmother. Her face had aged, the fire in her eyes dimmed by years of bitterness and regret. She did not approach at first. Guilt weighed heavily on her heart, heavier than any insult she had ever thrown. Later that evening, as the compound grew quiet, the stepmother finally gathered courage. She approached Addis, her head bowed, her voice trembling. "Addis, my child," she began, but her words broke in her throat. "I wronged you. I wronged you greatly. I see now the pain I caused. I see now the shame of my heart. Please, forgive me." The crowd held its breath. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for, the clash of past wounds and present strength. Addis looked at her stepmother, memories flashing, nights of hunger, days of humiliation, the sting of rain-soaked skin as she sowed bananas. She could have turned away. She could have mocked her. She could have hardened her heart. Instead, Addis stepped forward. Her voice was calm, steady, yet filled with emotion. "Stepmother," she said, "you tried to break me, but instead you made me strong. You denied me love, yet I found love elsewhere. You gave me pain, but God turned it into purpose. I will not carry bitterness in my heart, for if I do, then your cruelty will still have power over me. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace." The stepmother broke into tears, falling to her knees. Addis reached down, lifted her up, and embraced her. The crowd gasped, then erupted in applause. Some cried openly. Elders nodded with pride. Children looked on with wide eyes, learning that strength was not only in success, but in forgiveness. Addis' father whispered, "This is the true mark of greatness, not how far you have gone, but how much love you carry when you return." From that day forward, the story of Addis became a legend in the village. Not just the tale of the girl who sowed bananas in the rain and rose to study abroad, but the tale of the woman who chose compassion over revenge. Her return did not only change her family. It inspired countless others. Parents pushed their children to value education. Children, even the poorest, saw hope in her journey. The market women who once pitied her now spoke her name with pride. And Addis herself, though she had touched the skies, never forgot the soil beneath her feet. The drums of celebration still echoed in the village, but Addis' heart carried a quieter song, one of gratitude, humility, and purpose. She knew her journey was not just about her own rise, but about what she would leave behind. In the weeks that followed her return, Addis took a step that stunned the community. With the support she had gained abroad, she began building a school on the very soil where she once sowed bananas in the rain. The walls rose brick by brick, a symbol of hope standing firm against despair. Children who had once wandered the markets with trays on their heads now carried books in their hands. The laughter of learning replaced the cries of hunger. Addis walked among them, sometimes sitting on a bench, reading to them, reminding them, "I was once where you are. Do not let anyone tell you that your dreams are too big." The elders called meetings under the Iroko tree, praising her. Market women whispered her story to strangers. She is proof that no matter how heavy the rain, the sun will find you. And the stepmother. She lived with a new kind of humility. Addis did not erase the past, but she gave her a chance at redemption. Slowly, they began to live in peace, not as mother and daughter by blood, but as two women bound by the lessons of forgiveness. As the school opened officially, the entire village gathered. Children in neat uniforms sang songs of joy. The chief of the village lifted his voice. This is no longer just Adi's story, it is our story. A story of resilience, of hope, of forgiveness. Let this school stand as a reminder that no child should ever be left to the mercy of the rain. The camera of destiny zooms in. Life will test you. Sometimes it will clothe you in hunger, sometimes it will drench you in rain. But remember this, the same rain that beats you is the same rain that waters your destiny. Pain may bruise your heart, but forgiveness will heal your soul. And when the world thinks you are broken, rise, because your story is not yet finished. Backhand index pointing right, what would you have done if you were in Adi's shoes? Would you forgive, or would you turn away? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And with that, the story closes, not as a tale of suffering, but as a song of hope echoing into the future.